And also our guy Jeff Stotts every Wednesday, who's joining us right now, who is an athletic trainer by trade. We'll get into some injuries, but with Jeff right now, through his RotoWire analysis, through his expertise, there's his Twitter account, we're going to do a mock fantasy draft in this first round. So let's bring in Jeff right now. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Butch.
How many drafts have you been involved with so far, either as a RotoWire contributor or for leagues that you're actually in right now?
I've done 2 drafts, and I've got at least 2 more slated that I know of. So I'm looking at 4 teams right now.
Okay. For the purpose of this draft, I wish we had a triple box, Phil. Then we could bring you in and we could put you in a triple box. That's going to have that built next. But it's going to be Jeff, producer Phil DiMartino, and myself. And to set the rules for you, you're all involved in fantasy drafts. I personally have my first one coming up Sunday, which is a standard league with 3 wide receivers. I've been trying to get them to change that forever. I hate 3 wide receivers. But for the purpose of this draft, it's going to be a standard draft. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex position. And we're only going to go through the first round. What do you got, Phil? You want to chime in here? Oh, we have a triple box? Where's the triple box? Oh, there it is.
Look at that.
We got a triple box. So for the purpose of this draft, folks, Jeff to my, well, whatever it is, I'm not going to do left and
You're
right.
not very
Jeff
good at
right
left
over
and right,
there.
Butch. You never were.
Jeff will have the first pick in the draft. Phil will have the second pick in the draft. I will have the third pick in the draft, and so on, 4, 5, 6, and on the way down. But keep in mind, we have 1 flex position, so running backs are going to be more valuable unless you had 3 wide receivers. Also, we're picking with 12 people, so while we're doing multiple picks each, we're acting like it's the first time we pick. We want to get into some debate. We'd love your input. You can tweet at us. You can send us your questions. So let's start this mock draft, Jeff, and let's give you the first pick in the draft, which to you, knowing my conversations I've had with you, is a no-brainer, but I'm not sure it's such a no-brainer. Who are you taking with the first pick in this draft, Jeff?
Well, I'm taking Adrian Peterson out of Minnesota. I really think he's going to have another stellar year. His injury risk is very low. He's been a guy that's been healthy the majority of his career. The debate right here is between a lot of people is Peterson and Foster. I don't really like some of the past injuries that Foster has, and Peterson's a little bit more proven. So I'm going Peterson here. I'm happy with the pick. You can't miss with either one of those guys, it sounds like, but I'm more comfortable with Peterson.
Jeff, anyone else at all you would even consider for the number 1 pick, or is Peterson the only one you're taking there?
I mean, for me, it comes down to Peterson and Foster, and being an injured guy, I can't get those things out of my head, so I'm going Peterson.
So that's interesting, Jeff, because you've made it clear that with the number 1 pick, above a lot of other things, you want it the sure thing, and you think Adrian Peterson is the most close to being a sure thing, right?
Yeah, and he plays in a dome, so that's going to help. And I think he's shown that he's capable of doing things. He's got a new quarterback to learn, but I really think McNabb's going to learn to use him in the offense a little bit. He's really going to be a weapon out of the backfield too. I think Peterson is going to be right there. Foster's dynamic. He's proven that he can put up big numbers, but the track record is small. The sample size is small. So I'm still, like I said, going with the proven guy.
All right, so folks, we're doing this mock first round, and this squarely puts Phil DiMartino on the spot no matter where you are, if you have a top 5 pick or anywhere in the first round, because now the Chris Johnson question comes up. And again, we talked to Jimmy Morris this morning. They're meeting in Tennessee this morning, but they have no deal. He might have a holdout. He's clearly a top 3 pick if he's playing in most drafts, but you don't even know if he's going to be playing yet. So, Phil, you got the number 2 pick. Adrian Peterson is gone. I mean, everything comes into play here now. Best available running back next. How do you categorize Chris Johnson? Are you willing to take a quarterback at number 2? A receiver? What are you going to do here, Phil?
Butch, it's very interesting that Jeff said he would only consider taking Foster at number 1 because Arian Foster is not my pick. I'm taking Jamal Charles as the second overall pick.
Wild card.
It's honestly, I just don't trust Arian Foster with just 1 season. Maybe I'm an idiot, but when I'm in the fantasy draft, I know what my thought's going to be. Can Arian Foster come back and have that big of a season again, and after coming out of nowhere, being undrafted in a lot of leagues last year? And I just don't see how I'm going to justify taking Arian Foster with the number 2 overall pick if Jamal Charles is there. I just trust Jamal Charles.
Wait a minute. Well, I think this is a crazy wild card. Jeff, do you?
It's not a crazy wild card. I think a lot of people are anticipating a heavier workload for Charles there in Kansas City. He didn't get the touches that many people thought he would get, given that they gave Thomas Jones a lot of carries last year. I didn't realize what a good receiver he is out of the backfield. So I think Charles is a decent pick. I still give the slight edge to Foster, but it's not completely crazy to go Charles number 2.
So, Phil, are you picking Charles for the same at number 2 for the same reason that Jeff's picking Peterson, that at that point he's more of a sure thing to you than Chris Johnson with a holdout, than Arian Foster expecting to repeat his year, or anybody else?
Yeah, I think you're going to get more guaranteed production out of Jamal Charles. That's my personal pick. I don't trust guys I don't know a lot about. I'm sure I'll regret that if Arian Foster comes out and drops 2,000 yards, and I'll feel like an idiot. But I don't trust Foster in his second.
All right, so
year.
here I am with the third pick in the draft. You guys have now taken Adrian Peterson and Jamal Charles. It's the third pick in the draft. I got to be honest. I am considering Aaron Rodgers. I am considering Tom Brady. I'm a Patriots fan, but I'm not going to take him there because to me there's 3, and then there's a drop-off. And I am considering Chris Johnson, but no way. I'm scared you-know-what of Chris Johnson because he may not even play, and with the lack of time when I need guarantees like you guys. So even though, Phil, I agree with you, I don't think Arian Foster can repeat last year. To me, this is a no-brainer at this point. I was taking Arian Foster. If I had your choice and you took Arian Foster, I'm not sure it was Jamal Charles. It would be either Ray Rice or Jamal Charles. How do you feel about Arian Foster at 3 here in this situation, the way this draft's going, Jeff?
It's a steal. I mean, look, with these top 3 picks, you're hoping you never go wrong. And I don't think any of these guys are going to be a huge letdown. I like the ceiling a little bit more on Charles. Like I said, I like the proven track record from Peterson, but I still think Foster is going to be a decent back this option there this year. He had a really good preseason game. He does have a little bit of competition from Tate there now. There is some rumblings that they're going to try to get him a little bit more carries too. So it'll be interesting to see, but I still think at 3 you can't go wrong with Foster.
All right, Jeff. Well, that means that Chris Johnson, the best athletic talent in all the game, is available with your pick at number 4. Are you taking him?
I'm not. I'm not really optimistic despite the meeting today with the Titans GM. I think this is going to be a long process. I think it's going to carry over into week 1, maybe even longer than that. I really think right here I'm going to go Ray Rice. I'm a big Ray Rice guy. He gets tons of catches out of the backfield. He's a valuable weapon in that Baltimore offense. I don't think he's going to get as many touchdowns poached from him like he did last year with McGahee. I like Rice. I'm taking Rice here. I'm extremely happy with taking Ray Rice here. But, with the Chris Johnson situation, it's opening the door for injuries. And, guys, as the injury expert, I'm not going to run the risk of taking a guy that's going to – a first-round pick on a guy that's going to get hurt. Because I'm not optimistic about Chris Johnson even when he does come back.
Now keep in mind, folks, if you're watching this mock draft that we're doing the mock first round with only 3 of us, we're acting, Jeff, with the 4th pick like it's the only pick we have in the round. Jeff Stotts of RotoWire. I'm Butch Stearns. He's Phil DiMartino of the Pulse Network. So that means now, with Peterson, Charles, Foster, and Ray Rice gone, it goes to you, Phil, with the 5th pick. The big elephant is still in the room. Chris Johnson is still out there. Your point. If he's signed in there, there's no way he's available now. Now the choice is squarely on you. What are you doing?
I honestly, I'm nervous about a holdout. It's not beyond a superstar to hold out for at least a couple of weeks, and in a football league, you can't afford to lose a couple of weeks and have your number 1 pick give you nothing for a couple of weeks. So I'm not going with Chris Johnson, and based on my experience, last year my best player on my fantasy team was Aaron Rodgers. He led me to the playoffs. He led me to a championship game. And Aaron Rodgers is going to give you a ton of production. And I know that maybe it's heresy, Jeff, to take a quarterback in the first round with the 5th overall pick. But Rodgers has proven it in my mind that he can come and give you consistent production. And you know what you're getting from him, and you know it's good.
Yeah, and Phil, I want to know if you've been reading the RotoWire magazine, because you got the 2 cover boys now. You got Charles and you got Rodgers on your squad there, or that you've drafted so far. I'm still not taking a quarterback in the first round unless you're getting a full 6 points for a touchdown. I just, it is, reflected back when you just take those 4 points. But you can't go. I mean, he's the top quarterback in my opinion. I'm taking him over Vic just because Vic's going to miss at least 2 or 3 games because he's going to make himself vulnerable to injury. I like Rodgers as a top quarterback. I still think I would rather take one of the top-notch running backs and get the value pick a little bit down the road with quarterback. But if you're going to take a quarterback this early, you might as well take the number 1.
All right, so interesting. Let's go to RotoWire. Let's look at Chris Liss's top 150, and let's see where our draft. We went Peterson, Charles, Foster, Rice, and Rodgers. And in the top 150, you've got Peterson, Foster, Charles, Rice, and Andre Johnson. So we were 4 of 5. Jeff, advice for people in fantasy drafts, because they'll all have these lists on this day. Is this a tool or a rule for people when you go by these lists?
It's a tool. You know, you're going to have your personal bias, which is always nice to an extent, but at the same time, you got to, listen to your gut, but try not to be a big homer. I know you like the Brady pick, but if you're going to pick a guy just based on the fact that he's a hometown guy, you may hurt yourself there a little bit. The thing I really like, it's actually on RotoWire as well, is we've got an adjustable league where you can get the rankings according to how your league is set up. If you mess around with the fantasy draft kit there, you can personalize the rankings to your league. So if you do a PPR league or you do a league where the touchdowns count more for quarterbacks, you'll see the adjusted ranking. List does a really good job. I really like his top 150 list. But again, you've got to go into it with a plan and a little bit of who are you going to take, what are you going to like? Because again, while List has Andre Johnson at number 5 overall, I'm not taking a wide receiver in the first round of a standard league. It's just, sure, he's reliable, but he's not a guy I'm taking in the first round.
All right, so here I am sitting at number 6. Again, let's pretend that this is the first pick I have in the draft. Chris Johnson's available. Let's also take the leap that you get 6 points for a throwing touchdown. And you said, Jeff, you're not taking a quarterback unless that is the case. So I have, beyond Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady and Michael Vick at my disposal. I have a surer thing than Chris Johnson and LaShawn McCoy or any other top running back that I might consider, Darren McFadden, guys like that, even though they're not ranked this high. I'm taking Chris Johnson. I'm sitting here and I'm reluctantly doing it, but there's just the risk-reward factor. The reward for me is just, eventually he's going to play. He's not going to let me down the whole year. Unless he holds out the whole year, it's not a bad thing.